What's up, y'all? Will here at Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Simple restaurant employee scheduling, legendary customer service. Look, if you're on Excel or pencil and paper, or you're using one of these complicated scheduling softwares that has tons of bells and whistles that you don't need or use, it's hard to navigate, Schedulefly.com. Check it out. Super easy to use. We take great care of you, and life will be easier for you and your team. So we're also happy to have two wonderful sponsors for this podcast, Pop Menu and Kickfin, and we will tell you about each of them in just a minute. But before we do, I want to tee up this episode about Ryan Parrott at Humankind Hospitality Services in Oklahoma City. I just so thoroughly enjoyed hearing the way he and the team at Humankind think about their business and their employees and their culture. I'll give you a couple of examples. Number one, they have managers clock in, and the reason they do that is they want to make sure their managers are not working more than 50 hours a week. I mean, this is an industry where it used to be like, you better work 50, and they're making sure they're not working. If they're working more than 50, they got to figure something out. Second thing is, boy, do they have a very well-defined culture here. 7 tenets of their culture, and Ryan and I talked about that. And each week they take one of those, so there's 7 words, right? And they will take one of those words and they will talk about that pre-shift lunch, pre-shift dinner, and they'll do that for 7 days straight. And they'll talk about what that word means and why it's important and how they want to implement that particular behavior or tenet that day, and then they move to the next one the next week. Super cool. Love places that have great cultures like that are so well defined, and you can guarantee that all those employees know what that culture is all about and what those 7 tenets are. So anyway, Ryan is a great dude. Guy's got 6 kids. He's been in the restaurant industry a long time, loves what he does, fun to talk to. We did have some minor Wi-Fi issues, so you'll hear a couple of times where it gets a little grainy, but just bear with it. It's worth it, because this is a great conversation. Thank you all for listening, and before we hear from Ryan, let's hear a quick word about our episode kickoff sponsor, Pop Menu. Pop Menu is, well, they're a partner of Schedulefly, and we have a lot of happy mutual customers. But Pop Menu is all about making your day easier and your sales bigger. They will simplify your marketing operations, bring in more guests, capture customer data for personalized remarketing to keep them coming back. With one super simple to use platform that integrates with most point of sales like Toast and Square and a number of others, Pop Menu starts with a beautifully designed, easy to update interactive menu that transforms the guest experience online. It includes a brand new website that's optimized for search engines like Google for no additional cost, automated digital marketing, online ordering and waitlisting, and you'll never miss another call with their AI answering solution that costs as little as 47 cents an hour. Check it out. Check out the link in our show notes. There's so much more in Pop Menu. Here's my 2 cents. I've talked to a lot of our mutual customers, and here's what they say about Pop Menu. Great company, great customer service, great product, great results. Check out Pop Menu and check out this episode of Restaurant Owners Uncorked. Thank you all for listening. See ya.
Why don't we do this? Before you introduce yourself, how about getting back there on that set of drums and give me something? Let's see what you got.
Dude, I am no good on that. I am no good on that. You know, I got a buddy of mine. He's a chef here. He's one of my best friends, but he used to be like a guitar tech and did all this, like, traveling with all these bands. So he has a bunch of friends in our band, and it was kind of a joke because I would play air drums to songs. So he got me a drum set because he basically got it through some friends in the music industry, and it showed up on my doorstep. My wife wasn't real happy about it, but I have yet to really learn how to play them. So it would just be an embarrassment to both of us if I threw down on those right now.
Well, we actually have a set upstairs in our house as well. My son used to play. He doesn't play anymore. I've tried. it's rough. But yeah, no, I thought you were gonna. I was like, oh man, this dude. Because I'm already look, I'm already impressed with you. So, because I got a bunch of stuff I want to ask you here. I was reading your bio, but Ryan, go ahead and just introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, Ryan Parrott, Humankind Hospitality, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Small little restaurant group. Started in 2009, and we have 4 restaurant concepts and a couple of little bars that are kind of extensions of some of the restaurants. We have Picasso Cafe, and contained with next to it is the Other Room bar, and then we have Oso on Paseo, and connected with it is Flamingo at the Tiki Room, Rum and Tiki Room. And then we have Frida Southwest, and it has a bar connected to it called The Daily. And then we have Sauced on Paseo, which is a pizza place, and it has Sauced on the Side, which is its kind of companion bar next to it. So everything's kind of got a restaurant with something connected to it in each concept, which kind of started, with Picasso as being the original one, and it always kind of had with it. So we just kind of carried that on with each concept. So.
Well, y'all have a great group, and I know you've been there for 9 or 10 years, but your career goes back to, as it does with so many people in this industry, washing dishes at age 15.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about that, and then, I mean, we just got to talk about the fact that you're somehow culinary director of this great restaurant group, and having the success you're having with 6 kids. That is probably the most impressive part of this, brother. Like, that's amazing. So I want to get into that because I've got 3, and hats off, man. But we'll get started with where it all started for you. Age 15, you show up probably trying to make money for a summer job or something like that, and then here you are all these years later. So tell me about that, man.
Well, I always say that I got into the restaurant business because my dad was a plumber, and it's because my dad was a self-employed plumber, so I grew up, from 5 or 6 years old, I would go work with him, and by the time I was 14, 15, I was like, man, I do not want. And my dad always said, I'm gonna teach you that you don't want to be a plumber. And he did a great job of that. So by the time I was 14, 15, I was like, man, I don't want to do this, man. And I don't want to work with my dad. The last thing I want to do is work with my dad. And so I found a restaurant that would hire me at 15 or whatever. And they said, hey, I said, I can wash dishes. So I came home and told my dad, I said, look, I can't work anymore because I got a job. I had this other job, so I can't work with you anymore. And so that was, that was always the thing is, I mean, I might be like selling pianos right now or making dog food, or I don't know, doing anything that whatever job would have hired me at 15 if I would have stuck with it. I mean, whatever it was, it just happened to be the restaurant business and I stuck with it. But, it could have been something else that ended up, being on that career path. But it was, I can't imagine what it would be because I can't imagine doing anything except this. So. But that's kind of how I got started, washed dishes, a little barbecue place, and I started washing dishes at a little nicer restaurant, and then, meet somebody that this is their career path, and they are, and I'm like, wait, actually make a life out of this, and my mom, I always kind of had, even before that, my mom, when I was a little kid, waited tables, and I remember going in and being like, man, I want to be the busboy. I used to tell my mom, I want to be the busboy. And I was like 8, and she's like, well, when you get older, and then she told me the busboys had to take the trash out. I don't know if I want to be a busboy, but just because I didn't take the trash out at home, so why would I take it out at work? But no, and so I think it was, I don't know, it was natural. Like I always loved the excitement, the energy. It seemed like a lot of people were cool in the restaurant business. When I was younger, so it was just. It always seemed like a lot of fun, and it was always full of energy, and and that was me. I couldn't sit still in class. If I'm in school, I'd fall asleep at my desk, and not and bored with that. So it was always that move creative and having fun, and then there's the the hospitality side of it, you know, people pleasing and making people happy and getting satisfaction out of that. So it all just clicked on a lot of levels for me really fast. So, you know, and it was something I was good at it, you know. I mean, I stepped in and I was good at it, and that always helps too. So,
Man, that's so cool. I love I love that I love that you said, you know, like you could have been whoever would have hired you at age 15.
Yeah, and I don't know that it would have clicked. I'm just thinking that, you know, but it's like it could have been, right?
I think, dude, I would bet you would have found your way to hospitality no matter what. Like, it is very clear to me this is what you were meant to do.
Yeah.
And just it's emanating from you, man. So, I mean, you just kind of checked off all the things that somebody who loves hospitality is, you know, it's why they love it. I mean, it's fast paced, it's nonstop, it's something different every day. And then the icing on the cake, of course, is wanting to take care of people and wanting to please people and wanting to make people happy. I mean, this is a people business for sure. And at the end of the day, it's about wanting to welcome people in and provide them a great experience and see them smile, right? I mean, isn't that what really hospitality ultimately comes down to?
Of course, yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's that when someone else smiles and you can feel they're genuinely happy, that's what drives me, right? That's what drives hospitality. It's like, at the end of the day, is like when those people are happy, that's what keeps me going, and then gets me more creative. It makes me want to work harder, you know, it makes me want to do better. I mean, you know, I was running late to this deal because we had this thunderstorm that literally came out of nowhere, and I got guys on the roof working on an air conditioner, and I got a concrete crew out in the parking lot, you know, and I'm dealing with this, and I'm like, see the storm coming, I'm getting these guys off the roof, and then they come inside, and this is all the things I was thinking about this as I was driving back. There's like, I do more probably of what people would never think a restaurateur would do or a chef would do. I probably do more of that. Like, if you ask somebody like, hey, what does a chef do? They're going to be like, oh, he cooks food and he does this, and, you know, and he probably has this really cool, glamorous life. And like, the reality of it is like, no, I'm on a roof in a thunderstorm, pulling air conditioning guys off and helping them get their tools and patch it up so we don't have rain in the restaurant, you know. And I've spent 9 years of my life digging in a hole out back of our kitchen because I have a sump pump in it every time it rains and it floods the kitchen, you know. And it's those types of things that I probably spend more time doing that than I do what anyone else thinks my job is, you know. And that's part of hospitality too, is like, why do I do that? Is because if I don't, then these other things may not happen, you know. And I mean, it's like, yesterday I spent 3 hours just dealing with tradesmen, you know, in the morning before I even got to go do my job. I had to spend 3 hours dealing with different trades of different people, either fixing stuff or making things better in our restaurant. So, I mean, that's just part of it. I mean, it's a big part of it sometimes, but, you know, I think that's the things that other people don't think about, that is actually my job, is doing those things.
Oh man, you have just captured the big gap and the big dilemma that so many people that get into this business without having the experience in the business miss, which is, oh, I love to host people in my home and I'm a really good cook or whatever, you know. And so, I mean, that's sort of like the allure of the business. And oh, these people come in and I see the owner and he's walking around and he's saying hello and people are smiling and he's made this, you know, the chef, he's coming out of the kitchen, he's made this great food. But people, unfortunately, is part of why I love doing this podcast, because I want, you know, we're trying to educate people. We want to educate and inspire, right? So
yeah,
we want to balance that, because I think there is, you know, the history of this industry is littered with, you know, failed businesses that were started with the naive concept of what it's like to be a restaurant owner versus the hard reality of what, you know, what really happens, and how, like, on any given day, the AC breaks, there's a hole in the roof, the sump pump goes out, there's, you know, somebody quits, right in the middle of a busy, not, I mean, it is like nonstop. So if you like, everything to be ordered and specific, and how your day is going to go, don't get into this business, because it is there could be, I mean, any given day, any time of day, there's something that's going to happen. And guess what? You got to deal with it, and you got to figure it out, and you got to figure out how to do it as calm as possible, so that everybody else doesn't freak out, and so that it actually gets done, so the business can keep operating, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I mean,
man.
yeah, it's like you're saying, it's like I had a server pass out in the wait station, like like comatose, basically, in the middle of a service, and I'm taking care of them, and ultimately they ended up being okay, which was great. But the other staff were like, man, you were so calm, you're so great. They're like, we were freaking out, we don't know how you were so calm. And I was like, I tell you that I was freaking out, I mean, things were going haywire in my head, but all I knew is like poker face, man. Poker, like, if they see me losing it, they're gonna really lose it, right? And I'm like, okay, I just gotta stay calm, cool, and collected here. But I'm like holding a young man that I'm not sure if he's gonna die, come back. I don't know what's going on, He just completely passed out. And it's like, but those situations where it's like, okay, man, I just gotta stay calm and be a leader here and get through this, we can. And it was funny that they were commenting afterwards, because what was going through my head, I was like, man, you gotta stay cool here. Like, as much as you freak out, you gotta stay cool. And that's a big part of it too, is like, not, not losing it in any of those situations. Are you still there? You stand?
Yeah.
You still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. It was my internet was saying the Zoom was saying the internet was unstable or something. But in any situations, I mean, it's Friday night, you got, long ticket times and people at the door, and there's customers, whatever it is like, you got to stay cool in all those situations. It's like Vietnam. I mean, you can't freak out in the middle of a war, and it's like, that's a battle. I mean, I had a friend of mine say that. I thought it was a great analogy, because we were talking about mental health stuff in the restaurant industry, but he's like, you guys have PTSD every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, you start off and you set up a battle. You set up like people would set up for war. You set it all up, you get ready, you have a war, and then you break it down and clean it all up. And then you come back the next day and do it all over again. It's like, that's a good point. And it's like that. I mean, I've always said that. It's like, hey man, don't mess with me in the middle of war, because we got to save lives. I mean, I always talk about it's like it's saving lives, but it is. I mean, sometimes you do have to get excited or get loud to save lives, and sometimes it does happen. But for the most part, you want to stay calm and cool and collected, and lead your team that way. So, and it's tough, man. I mean, it's real tough sometimes. So, it's a good point.
Well, I want to ask you. You said that you and your friend were talking about mental health in the restaurant industry. That's something that has been very high on my radar recently. I've been having a lot of conversations about that. And I think the industry has begun to have this conversation collectively a lot more often. So I'm really glad to hear that, because it's such an important thing, and particularly in this industry where there's been, it is so tough. And of course, without proper mental health care and self-care, then it leads to all of the substance abuse and all the things that have come along with this industry for so long. I feel like the industry is moving in the right direction. It's really a big part of it. So it just, when you said that, it made me curious, your thoughts on that. And when you talk about that, like when y'all talk about that there at Humankind, like Feed Humankind, like tell me about that conversation.
I mean, we have, and I've worked on some stuff, and honestly, pandemic kind of shut some of it down. It's been harder since then. And and I'm gonna make that as an excuse, but I want to get back into working on that. We've done a few things. There's an organization here. It's called Peer 39, and it's a group of mental health workers, like psychiatrists and counselors, that have come together and offer their time for free. I think you on the user end, it's $10 or $15 for a session. And I've extended it to my staff and said, anybody that wants to go and talk to, sign up and get some of them, I'll pay the 10 or 15 bucks. There is an option they could go and qualify and get assistance with that fee. But I told them, I said, don't even worry about it. I'll pay time. So we have that outlined to them. You know, I think it's a lot of conversations. I think it's a lot of things. I mean, it's being engaged in a lot of people's lives, probably a lot more so than you really want to be, so that you know what they're doing and they know that someone else is engaged in their lives. Somebody else is worried about what they're doing when they're not there. You know, not overscheduling them. You know, nobody works doubles. People don't work doubles in our company. You know, the historic, like, hey, come in and work, 5 or 6 hours in the morning and come back and work 6 hours at night, and get this little break in between. And, we don't do that. Or sometimes you don't get a break. Sometimes you come into work at 10 o'clock in the morning and you leave at midnight. It's like, we don't do that. We create real jobs that are good jobs for people that are looking for a good job. You're going to come in and work, you're going to get 2 days off a week, and you're going to work, 8 hours. You're going to, it's these things. I mean, our managers get 2 days off and work. We have all of our managers and chefs clock in and out every day. And it's not because we want to make sure that they're enough. It's because we want to make sure that we're giving them a good job. And that if they're working over 50 hours a week, then we've got to be coaching them and figuring out how to get them to not be working that. And that's a bit, that's the thing, is like, I think it's a lot of the conversation starts there. It's like, where's a good job? What am I going to give you a good job that's going to help you get a good living? It's going to help you not have to be in a situation that you're going to have these issues, or you're in a situation that you can take care of some of your issues and not cover them up with substance abuse or, any of those other things. And it starts there. It's like, let's create this, because you can't, oh, well, just go talk to somebody and figure out your stuff, but come in here and work your ass off and don't eat shit and, go on and expect everything else to be okay. It's like, no, we have to create all of these things before any of that other conversation can really even happen. And I think that's where we're at. I mean, we see a lot of, I have a lot of really, really wonderful employees. And I think we have a different employee in 2023 than I've ever seen in this business, and they're adult, they're professional, they want to be here. And even adult and professional, the 19-year-old kids are adult and professional, and because they're coming into an environment that's how everyone acts, and that's the culture, that's how everybody is treated, that's how everybody acts. And so I think when you come into that, I mean, we have some kids, we have some that are under 18, and it's like, I get really impressed with these kids sometimes, but I realize I'm like, you're coming into this environment and you have no choice but to act that way, or you're not going to stick around. Like, no one's going to treat you like a 16-year-old kid. We're going to treat you like an adult. And you have to work like one. You have to act like one. And we depend on you to be one. So I think all of those things kind of help contribute to not contributing to the other side. All those factors that do make it bad. And it is, you're right, it is part of the conversation. It probably needs to be a bigger part of the conversation, because there's a lot to it. I mean, it's a complicated thing. The other side of it is that, the restaurant business historically is the misfits, and so we all come here because we don't belong anywhere else. So we end up coming here, and that's, that creates that. But I think it's a place can take in the misfits and throw arms around them and hold on to them and teach them how to live a good, clean life without having to have a lot of issues, and I think that's kind of where we're starting with it, is really just focusing on creating healthy, positive environments for people to thrive and grow.
Oh man, I love that so much. I love hearing you talk about that. The industry for so long kind of just churned through misfits, and it was a stopover place, and it was just for, it was just, people would go from one place to the next. I mean, look, dude, I gotta tell you, our business for years benefited from high turnover
Right.
Because we had this product that we don't really have sales and marketing, but the employees like it, and so they would take it from one place to the next, right? Like, so I was always like, well, high turnover is kind of good for us as a business, but it's bad for the industry. And what's great to the industry is when you all, I mean, all this stuff you're talking about, you know, making sure managers aren't working more than 50 hours is so polar opposite of even, you know, just not that many years of like, you better be working for 60 hours, you know, hard plus abuse, the burnout, and and then the turnover, right? For managers and for staff. So when they're pushed hard, like,
Hey, y'all. We had ourselves a little Wi-Fi issue at this point in the podcast, and I was talking about turnover. When we return from our mid-episode break, I'll pick up talking about turnover, but we lost each other for a few minutes, kind of had to reboot and all that stuff, so this is the perfect time for a mid-episode break. All right, y'all, time for a little mid-episode break to talk about Kickfin, our mid-episode sponsor and a great business. Thousands of restaurants, bars, and breweries use Kickfin to tip out their employees instantly, no cash required. With Kickfin, tips go directly to your employer's bank of choice the second their shift ends. It's a really simple solution to a really big problem, because if you're still paying out credit card tips in cash, it's costing you. Time-consuming bank runs and cash counting take managers away from work that matters. Cash is hard to track, which leads to accounting headaches, and it creates the perfect opportunity for theft, human error, and compliance issues. Bottom line, there's never been an instant, secure way to pay out tips until Kickfin. It's an easy-to-use software that sends real-time cashless tip payouts straight to your employees' bank accounts 24/7, 365. Kickfin gives managers hours back in their day, makes reporting a breeze, and protects your business from risk. Most importantly, employees love it. Restaurants can have Kickfin up and running overnight. Employees can enroll in seconds. No hardware, no contracts, no setup fees. Visit kickfin.com for a personalized demo and see how restaurants across the country are digitizing tips with Kickfin. That's what they like me to read. I will tell you this. I know the folks at Kickfin. Check out the episode with Brian Hassan, the co-CEO of Kickfin, was on here on the podcast. Great people, love what they do. They treat their customers well. We have mutual customers that love the product and love the way the relationship they have with Kickfin. So check it out, link in the show notes, and let's check out the rest of this episode.
what I was talking about turnover, but what's so great is that when you can provide good quality balance in life, and you can provide good, help people with mental health, physical health, financial health, and they have their life in order, then not only do you have somebody that, wants to stay with your business, wants to grow with your business, when you start doing that and you're investing into people like that, like you're doing and offering to pay for mental health, then your turnover reduces significantly over time, because people go, this is a place I can live and or I can work and stay. And turnover is expensive as heck. I mean, there's a dollar amount that we can associate with it, but then there's just a business flow that, when we have people that stick around, the business runs smoother and better. And, it is an industry, as you said, like an industry of misfits, but, it's an industry of great diversity and amazing people that come from all walks of life. And it's the one industry where it doesn't matter where you went to school or what your background is. It just matters if you're willing to come work hard and be a part of this team and take care of our customers, man. That it's an awesome industry because the sky's the limit. Like if you've got that mentality, especially with a group like yours that's growing and you continue to grow and you add places, all that does is just create opportunities for people in the organization to take on more responsibilities and, make more money and have a better quality of life and just keep growing in their career. It's a wonderful industry for that, where it's like not like a lot of the, sort of corporate America politics and all that stuff you deal with. It's like, man, this industry is truly like what the American dream is, which is like, hey, if you're willing to show up, bust your butt, but, for your team and for our customers, we love you and let's go. World's your oyster.
And we have that thing where it's like, we talk about I don't care where you started. I don't care, like when you walk in here, the first day you walk in, I don't care what your experience is on the things where it's like, but what I do care about is you progressing, you know, is like wherever you started from, that's the base, but every day I want you to get better, you know, whether, you know, I want you to read, I want you to study, I want you to get better, not just at your job, I want you to get better outside of your job, you know. It's like personal and professional growth. I want to see growth, you know, and that's from, if you're a line cook or a server or a dishwasher or a general manager, I want to see growth out of you. You know, I want to see that you are doing something in your life that's making yours and the people around you and your life better. You know, what's getting better in your life, and that's what I want to see. You know, I want to see you getting smarter and stronger. I want to have that joy with you when you buy a new car or when you get, you know, clothes, or when you know, whatever it is. I want to share that joy with you because you are getting better in your life, and it's because you're getting smarter and because you have the opportunities to do that. So we all have those opportunities to grow, and I guess it's like giving you the opportunity to grow and to make sure you're taking advantage of it. I want you to grow. It's not just like, here's an opportunity to grow and don't grow. You know, I expect you to grow. I expect that to happen. So those are the things that we look at. It's like, hey, are you getting this? But it doesn't matter where you started from. It's hey, what trajectory are you on? And that's what we look for.
Tell me about the culture there, that you all have created, you and Sean and the team there.
You know, we sat down, I don't know, I think, so I've been there 9 years. And when I first started, I said, you know, Sean was already kind of going, and to backstory, Sean and Kim started Picasso in 2009. And I feel like I kind of did because we were all kind of together, and I was actually Sean and Kim's boss before that, another restaurant group that I owned used to that. So we all knew each other, and Sean had wanted me to be a part in 09, but I had some other projects going on and I couldn't be. So I joined in 2013. But then so when I came around, it's like they were going through a bunch of changes and really positive stuff. But I was like, hey, we don't have a mission statement. You know, what's the mission statement? And so we sat down and really spent a lot of time and hammered out a vision statement and 7 tenets and what those tenets mean. And so we go through 7 tenets. All our restaurants are all the same, and we talk every week. So each week we start with one. We start with accountability, and we all at every store twice a day, twice a day, every day at all stores, they're talking about accountability. And then, you know, and then we go to authenticity. So, and we go through all 7 of them. And so each week it's a different one, but all the stores are talking about the same one twice a day, every single day. And, you know, talking about them with the staff, we have our vision statement that goes along with each of the tenets. And then we talk about how to apply it to your job or how to apply it to your life, or what is it. And, you know, it's crazy to me that over the years, how one word's definition can change so dramatically for you in your mind, and then how many times it can change. I'm like, I never knew that I could define authenticity 10 different ways, and it changed over the years of what it means, you know, because it just ends up meaning, I mean, it still means the same thing, but it just has this new life that it keeps taking on, and how it applies to our restaurant, to our industry. And it's like I said before, it's like, well, hey, we're going to talk about authenticity. It doesn't mean just be authentic while you're here, and then when you don't have to be authentic. It's like, we want you to be an authentic human being all the time, right? It's like, when you leave here, be authentic. Still talk about authenticity. So, you know, there's a lot of it, I think, drives, you know, our mission, our vision, and then our 7 core drive a lot of what we do. And, you know, I've seen it before. I've worked in other restaurants or organizations that would have these types of things. Sometimes they would get used. Sometimes it was like things that you learned in a training handbook and then never talked about again.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, I've seen some cultures where they would kind of use them a little bit. but ours is really strong. You know, you practice them every day, and then you keep practicing them. You know, hey, I want you to use your curiosity. You know, curiosity is one of our tenets. So, you know, when you're coaching somebody, or I hear the employees doing it to each other, like, hey, use your curiosity. You know, hey, are you being authentic? You know, are you being accountable? And doing those things, it's like using them constantly, and not just, oh, we talked about it pre-shift and now I don't have to talk about it anymore. We're like, oh, I took a test on it and now I can forget. It's like, no, like we're gonna constantly engage in these activities and constantly engage in these practices all the time, you know, and our managers are going to use them, our workers are going to use them, and everybody's going to use them with each other to create that atmosphere. And so, you know, you say culture, and it is a culture, but I think it's just like a lifestyle. And a lot of it's just like, hey, it's like do the right thing and be a good person, you know. And if you do those things, then the rest of it's going to fall into line. So, but it is a culture thing, and it is, you know, it's about creating that, hiring the right people. You talked about turnover earlier, and it's like, I mean, just the amount of time like a manager spends hiring and onboarding people is enough to warrant, like, we just want lower turnover. And we assessed it years ago and figured out it was about, it's for a server that we pay $2.13 an hour. We pay them more than that for their training, but it's over $1,000 to train a server. You know, imagine a cook or a manager, how much it costs to train them. I mean, so yeah, it's a lot of money that at the end of the day that we would rather just recoup and be able to use that money internally. I mean, you know, a lot of what we do, we don't take a lot of money home for us. And, you know, Sean and Kim and Kent and I is like, we're not taking a lot of money out of this thing. We're reinvesting this money. We make the restaurants better. I mean, you know, I talked to you about doing the AC thing, and I mean, we're like, some of those voluntarily, it's like we didn't necessarily have to do this air conditioner thing, but we're spending $20,000 on it, you know, and it's going to make the restaurant cooler and better and a better place for it. You know, a lot of that air conditioning is getting pumped back into the kitchen, so it's keeping a cooler kitchen for the guys back there to work. And you know, those are the things that it's about. It's not about me taking $20,000 home. It's about us making a better place for people to work and enjoy, and that for years and years to come, you know, that it'll thrive and be there for people to come and enjoy. So I think that's more about than just you know, like trying to make money or trying to do something in the short term. It's like, hey, what's the long term best scenario here? So, and that's the way that we look at things for that.
Wow. Love that, man. I love that. Okay, I gotta ask, you got 6 kids, like what ages are your kids?
Well, I'm on the downside of it. I got 5 and I got a stepson. So mine are 16 to 25.
Okay.
So
25, 6 kids ages
yeah.
6. Oh my goodness, man. Woo.
So I have my stepson is 23. My 5, my youngest 2 are what, 5 months apart, because I have 2 that are adopted. So every other kid is biological. So my youngest, middle, and oldest are biological, and then the second and the fourth are adopted from Guatemala. So that's why the 2 are 5 months apart. Gotcha. So when I tell people, oh, I have 2 kids that are 5 months apart, they look at me really, really judgingly, and they say, oh, does it have different moms? And I say, yeah, and different dads, because one of them's adopted. So, and it just kind of worked out that way. But yeah, I mean, you know, life has been chaotic. It's been crazy. You know, it's a lot slower now. I mean, once you get a kid driving,
yeah,
that changes a lot of things, because you don't just become so much of a taxi for them. And I mean, it's like I miss it now. Like, God, the kids don't need me anymore. It's like, but it's, you know, I don't know, man. I mean, you just survive. I mean, you just do it. I look back at it now and I miss a lot of it because it's a lot of fun. But in the throes of it, I was like, man, this is awful when you're trying to get to 3 different school events at 3 different schools at the same time, and you know, something's happening at the same time, and all these other things. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I remember, so my middle daughter, who actually still waits tables with us, this was right after we opened Frida, and she was an expo there. She was running expo, doing stuff for us, and we had my sous chef there. His little son was about 8 or 9 and was in the office on an iPad. And we're walking by, Zoe, as my daughter Zoe and I are walking by the office, and she stops and looks in the office, and she looks at him and she goes, "Oh, I remember being you." And it was because she's like, I remember having to sit in the office while Dad was working and sitting here on an iPad, but Zoe was the type that was like 9 and would go up to the host stand and clean all the menus. And like, if there wasn't customers coming in, she would pretend she was eating tables at a restaurant. So she's, I think it's one of those, she's like almost the hospitality naturally in her. And like I said, she's a server for us, one of our kind of lead servers for us right now. So, proud of her. I have another daughter that worked for us. All 4 of the 6, 5 of the 6 have worked in our restaurants. The youngest, I guess, has decided that he doesn't ever want to even give it a trial shot. But 5 of the 6 have worked there. One of them, my second oldest, she manages a small little ice cream chain here locally, Roxy's Ice Cream, and they have like 3 locations, and she kind of manages those. And just got she's graduated a business degree from UCO. But my oldest is coming back, I think, on her 3rd tour of working with us, just kind of part-time. She's doing some part-time stuff right now and helping us out a little bit. But they've all kind of cycled through. I guess the youngest, the one that hasn't worked for us, it's kind of skipped because he went to work for Roxy's. So he helps Violet run Roxy's. So they're all kind of around and involved in it to some level, but at least at some point. So it's fun. I mean, like I said, I miss the hectic chaos sometimes, but it's really nice to not have to deal with it sometimes. So I'm glad I survived it.
I mean, raising 6 kids and running restaurants, man, you are, like I said, I tip my hat. That is quite an accomplishment.
It takes a village, I mean, it's not, I never do it by myself. So.
Well, look, man, I'm going to let you get to it. I cannot thank you enough. I have so thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. I'm just super inspired talking to you. I love the way you are approaching it. I would love to actually, one thing I wanted to ask you, you've mentioned 3 of the 7 tenets. What are the 7 tenets?
So here we go in order: kindness, curiosity, accountability, competition, authenticity, intent, and gratitude. And to tell you, just like, I mean, I can tell you the aspiration, like, kindness came in. We actually swapped out. We redid, because we had candor, and I still think candor is a big part, but I think candor kind of comes about with these, and we put kindness in there just because we wanted everybody to be kind. Competition is not competition that you would think it is, because we don't use competition as like, oh, we're competing against the restaurant down the street. We are competing against ourselves, and we use it as not even like, it's that you will, is like I was talking about, we want you to be better. You will, I want you to be better. You're competing against will. So today, whatever your best measurable thing is, whatever you want to measure it against, hey, I did this and it took me this long to do this task. Well, I want to do it in less time today. Or, I want to sell, I sold 10 of the chef specials yesterday. I want to sell 12 of the chef specials today. Whatever it is, whatever you want to do, measurable is like you're competing against your own best effort, right? So kindness, curiosity, we're always looking for ways to serve. Accountability is we own the outcomes of our actions. Authenticity is we're predisposed to serve others. Intent, we're diligent in the use of our finite time. And then gratitude is we honor the values through our words and actions. So that's our 7 core tenets.
And you talk about one each week, every day, twice a day. So you go, so basically every 7 weeks you cycle through.
Yep, yep. So, and we just started the top right. This week is competition. So we do a pre-shift at lunch and a pre-shift at dinner at each restaurant. So at 10:30 in the morning, you got 4 restaurants talking about competition all at the same time. And at 4:30 in the afternoon, you got 4 restaurants talking about competition all at the same time. And then, yeah, so, and every Monday it starts over with a new one, and we just cycle through all 7 of them.
Oh, what a great, for listeners, what a great best practice. I mean, that is
Yeah,
such a wonderful way to, a lot of people have core tenets or their core values, or like you said, but I mean, but just really, it's funny because one of yours is intent. The intent that y'all go about that with is what really helps bake that into your team and
yeah,
helps shape them and helps mold them into, learning and then absorbing and living by those values. So man, I think that's fantastic. I love it. Well, listen, Ryan, thank you so very much for your
thank
time.
you, man, it's fun.
And I've just thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you today and talking to you about this, and love your group. Thank you all for, the business. And we appreciate you. And I'm your guy if you ever need anything, man.
Yeah, for sure, man, I appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
All right. See you.
Take care.
Take care.
Hey, y'all, before you sign out on this episode, a couple of quick things. Number one, if you listen to us on iTunes, if you could give us a star rating and a comment, it would help so much. Same thing if you're on Spotify, follow us, or any platform that you're on. If you would just do whatever their rating or follow options are. What that does is it tells the algorithms that this content is good and meaningful and valuable, and it'll tell them to put it in front of more people. So thank you for doing that. If you take the second to do that, that'd be so awesome. And also, if your restaurant is either using Excel or you're using some software that's expensive and has a lot of bells and whistles you don't need, or maybe doesn't have great customer service, we'd love to take care of you at ScheduleFly. Simple, easy restaurant employee scheduling software, legendary customer service, 30-day free trial, schedulefly.com. My cell phone number's on the trial sign up page. Thank you for listening. See ya.